My name is Gail Field. I'm a level 4 centered riding instructor from Long Island, New York. And I have a little presentation here on different teaching aids that I use. I call them toys, to teach centered riding. Most should be familiar to most of you, but I've added a few over the years. I'd love to see what other people use. To me, it's always a great excuse to go toy shopping. So I hope you enjoy. I'm sure everybody's familiar with the little skeleton. Sally called hers Herman. And this little guy or girl, depending on how you look at it, is a very good teaching tool to give us an idea of riding from your bones, as Sally always said. And I always look at this and I teach it as reality versus perception. So just a little way of using these for visuals and explaining how riding from your bones is a little more effective than riding from the perception of what a riding should look like. So that's two very common toys that I use. Another one is this little model of the atlanto-occipital joint. It's got the atlas, which is the top joint of our spine, and the occipital portion of the skull, as well as the axis or the second cervical vertebrae. And this shows how there's a nice little rocker on here to balance your head. Your face and your nose would be up here. This is the back of your head. And that this is sort of the nodding joint. And this is the no joint. And we use this a lot in just giving you an idea of what that atlanto-occipital joint is like. And to keep with the skeletal feel, this is my favorite demonstration for heels down. I always say that your heel is naturally a little down, so you don't have to push it down. It's more of a softening in the ankle. The main reason it looks more down when you're riding is that there's something under the front of your foot, and it allows your heel to go down, providing your ankle joint is nice and free. So another classic thing from Sally was having building blocks. And I got these from some of the instructors I used to teach, and at an update they brought me some blocks. So now I can use these to demonstrate the building blocks or balance principle of centered riding. Because if you put them off kilter, they don't stand too well. So this was always one of my favorite basics. It made the most sense to me from day one. And those same instructors gave me this little guy to demonstrate that we mostly need to ride from our legs, thinking of having a long tail, and less effective front paws. So you can ride like a T-Rex. It worked well with children. And there's always a nice assortment of balls for different reasons. I like different textures. These koosh ball type things are kind of fun. And some people like things with little rubber protrusions on them. They're also fun. In general, I like the heavier metal or glass or stone balls. We often talk about finding the nest to put your center in, deep back and behind your navel, back by your spine. But there's also a point here that is similar to the bubbling spring of your foot. I call it the bubbling spring of your hand. I'm so original. And if you put that ball or any ball in there, you will get a different sensation towards your center. Some people like to put it in front of them. Some people find putting it off to the side gives them more information, but there's actually a nervous connection that connects to your center deep in your body. Also, this point is very important when you're doing body work. If you think of finding this point on either hand, and it's real easy to find, if you go back from your middle finger, if your hand is relaxed, if you push, you will have your hand fold a little bit. So if you think of activating that or connecting with that, when you put your hands on, you'll have a different sort of a sensation. Give it a try, even sitting wherever you are. Take your hand, place it heel first, and drape the rest of your hand down over your leg. You can put it on your knee or just on your thigh, whatever is more comfortable for you. But think about finding that connection with that bubbling spring of your hand. Make a connection, and not only feel what's under your hand, but have whatever you're touching touch you back. So can you feel like your leg or your knee is touching your hand back? And notice the changes that you might feel in your hand. And this is a nice way to approach doing body work. But a lot of these different balls have different textures, weights, and different people will appreciate them differently. These are what's called Franklin balls. One of my colleagues introduced these to me a few years ago, quite a few years ago, and they're quite interesting as well. I can use them as I do the others, but they're very interesting if you put them under a rider's seat bones. Even if you're sitting in a chair, putting these balls under your seat bones will release a lot of the tendons and ligaments that go down the back of your leg and can really get you a deeper seat, whether you're on a horse or even sitting in a chair. Very interesting toys. Like I said, I love toys. And this is something I received as a gift during my apprenticeship from Susan Harris, and it's a really nice demonstration of the center rolling back as the little turtle moves forward. This ball rolls backwards as the little turtle rolls forward, and it's the same rolling your center back as you want to do anything to engage your horse. It goes over the top, down the back, and forward over your seat bones at a nice roll. And you, of course, can get a left spin or a right spin for making turns. Another toy. Something else I enjoy teaching with for teaching center. When I first started, center grow made me want to do and make and create the lengthening, and that doesn't really work. I liked thinking, finding my center and expanding worked better for me. It allowed my head to go forward and up, it allowed my sacrum to drop, and it gave me a nice sensation of a center. I also like this a lot for demonstrating center when I'm talking about a jump position or 2-point. If you expand the center and use that to support the back in a jump position or 2-point position, it gives you a little more oomph, I think. Just one of the visuals I like. And this is an oldie but a goodie. Sally used to bring out a slinky, and she often used it for talking about balancing a rider, having the same amount of weight in each foot and allowing that to be nice and balanced. But another way she would have it demonstrate, another thing she'd have it demonstrate, was thinking about sending energy forward over from back to front over the horse's back. And if you had a nice push from behind, it would go well. But if you dropped your contact, there would be nothing. Also, if you didn't have your driving aids on, you'd also lose it. And one of the more interesting things that it kind of demonstrates well when the two ends get a little too far apart and you lose connection between front and back. So sometimes horses don't like the sound of the slinky. This one's a little quieter than the metal ones, and I would prefer to use this around horses, because if something should happen and somehow something got tangled with the horse, these will break. The metal ones won't, and I'd rather have it break my toy than get stuck on a horse in some way that was creating more of a problem. So I think the last couple of toys, this was something that I got in a hardware store. It's a level. There's a bubble that shows level in this direction, and there's a bubble that shows level in this direction. So if you think of putting this on the wither of the horse, can you think about that bubble being centered left to right as well as the one going forward to back? Is your horse balanced left, right, and back to front as well? It's again just a nice little visual. It's not going to be terribly level. I wonder if it might help with thinking about leveling a saddle. But that's for another discussion. And the last toy I have here is not really a toy. I had gotten some sponges and they were so nice and soft. I thought, this reminds me of the birds that Sally used to talk about, that if you squeeze too hard, you'd squish the birds. I really didn't want to be squeezing birds. But these give a nice feel, and if you use them with the rein on top of the sponge between your fingers and the horse, this really gives a nice, for somebody that tends to over grip, this gives a little bit of feedback, and it gives the horse a little relief as well. So it's just another little toy. Oops, I forgot about this little guy. Weebles wobble, but they don't fall down. And this is kind of a nice little toy to think of for balance. Again, the little figure comes back into balance no matter what you do with it. I can also have people use this like the bowls and finding the weight of that, translating it through the body to the center, however it works well for them. And kids kind of like them, they're fun. So that's basically all I brought to